Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey Neckcore. I'm John.
And I'm Zach. So today's video is actually going to be kind of a different one for us. We're going to do our top 5 bourbons under $50.
Now, we have some qualifiers that are going to have to fit the parameter. There's a lot of great bourbons out there for under $50. However, this has to be readily available at any any liquor store.
Yep.
So you had to be able to walk in and buy it without it being allocated. So that's the first qualifier.
Yep. We're here in Virginia, so we are ABC regulated. So the bottles that we have here today are bottles that you can walk in at any day of the week and find. They're not bottles you have to hunt for. You don't have to track them down. They're going to be readily available and under 50.
And we also wanted to pick bottles that, like, you know, maybe if you're a little newer to the bourbon game, these are great bottles that you definitely need in your lineup. More importantly, you could take to a party, and honestly, like, you know, people that are into bourbon or whiskey are really going to appreciate this bottle because these are just super solid 5 bottles for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started here. John, what's the first one you have?
The first bottle that comes to my mind, I mean, 1792 small batch. For the price point, this is like a $30-ish bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But this is
the next one we have is, and this bottle for me really just it's got more depth and flavor, more versatility than a lot of any other bourbons you're ever going to get. Whether they're $20, they're $100, they're $200, and that is going to be Wild Turkey 101. And I know that is something that everybody in the bourbon community talks about, but there's a reason for it, and it's because this is a 6 to 8 year aged bourbon that has been in the making from Wild Turkey and Eddie Russell for decades. You really can't go wrong with this. The proof at 101 proof really holds up if you're mixing it in cocktails. It's not super high proof, so it's not going to overpower your palate if you're just sipping on it neat, but it's also not a 90 proof bourbon, so it's got some complex flavors and good notes going on there.
Well, what I love about this bottle, if you follow our TikTok, like, you'll see that, like, you know, this bottle has taken down some heavy hitters. Yeah. I mean, just the complexity, the palate, the flavor. I mean, it really is probably dollar for dollar one of the best bourbons out there. Absolutely.
The next one we have is actually going to be the Larceny small batch. Again, another under $50 bottle. It's a wheater, so instead of it having a rye grain in it, it's going to have a wheat grain.
And I think it's a little more approachable. Like, I think if you step in right into a rye and you're not a bourbon person, like, the taste of a rye is a little aggressive, so this is going to be a little more balanced of the three. But what I love about it, again, it's readily available. No whiskey snob's going to stand his nose up to that. I mean, that's a very strong bottle on its own.
Yeah, this is actually a bottle, and again, kind of coming back to some of our TikTok stuff. For us, it has actually beaten out some of the Weller offerings. So, like, I think Weller Reserve it beat out. I don't know if it beat out the Antique 107.
I don't know if we've done that yet, but I'd be curious.
It's a very good wheated bourbon, and it's a good place to kind of get started if you're new to the bourbon game as well.
Yeah. Now, the one we had a little game. Me and Zach were both going to go to the store. We were both going to pick out a bottle under $50 to kind of surprise each other. So I wanted to start with this one, which is Four Roses Single Barrel. You're kidding. You're kidding. Did we both pick the same bottle?
This is $44.99, not $49.
So, okay, that's how you know we know what we're talking about here, bourbon community. I couldn't agree more with you, Zach. For a single barrel, this is a great bottle. This is probably one of the cheapest single barrels you're going to get. So when you compare this to, like, Buffalo Trace single barrel or some of the other single barrels, I mean, Four Roses, you utterly murdered it. You killed it. This is on par.
So same warehouse, different barrels, which is cool. We can crack these.
We can work with it
and take a look and see if the barrels are different. But yeah,
I, honest to God, never would have thought you would have picked this,
dude. This single barrel beat out all of those other 100 proofers that I did for our Instagram a while back.
I couldn't agree more. I had a chance to try this a while back, and I was like, man, like, for the money, I don't know how you beat it.
I know. This is a great bourbon. This is a good place to get started if you're trying to get into bourbon and things like that. At 100 proof, it's not so aggressive on the palate that it's gonna, destroy your palate and make you feel like shit. It's really gonna be kind of a pleasant experience, especially so like, and if you're new to bourbon, you take a little bit of water, you just water it down just a tad, like a few drops of water. It'll really kind of bring out some of those real sort of fruity, rye, spicy notes that go along with a lot of the Four Roses products.
Since we both picked the Four Roses single barrel, I'll tell you what.
We gotta pick a different one, yeah.
Well, I know there was one back here that like almost made the cut for me, but I was kind of a little iffy about it just because of the fact it has been a little harder to get, but I believe this is under 50.
It is, yeah. Sure is.
So, I mean, this would be kind of the second bottle runner to the Four Roses, in my opinion.
Okay.
Kind of the father of the bourbon. I mean, it's pretty hard to crap on the guy that really owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So, this would be the lineup.
So yeah, there's between these 5 bottles, there's a decent, array of different distilleries that are producing whiskey and bourbon and stuff coming out of Kentucky. So this is kind of our list and our breakdown of our top 5 under 50. A lot of these even would be under 40 or under $30 because I know you can definitely find Wild Turkey in a smaller bottle. I think they're 750 is like $25 or something like that. And then even Larceny, you can find the Larceny bottles under 30 for like the 375 milliliters. So
all day. And what I think is cool here is like we have a lot of blends right here. But then we still are representing the single barrel, which really took off in the last couple of years, with whiskey.
This is my go-to. This is something. I mean, I went out and bought another one of these because I think at this point I've killed a few of them. These are good. The Four Roses single barrels are fantastic. Small Batch Select is also another good one, but it's going to run you a little over 50. I think here in Virginia, the Small Batch Select is like $57, $58 before taxes. So definitely a lot of good options under 50. These are our 5 go-tos. If you're new to the bourbon community, give these a shot. I would recommend starting with the Wild Turkey 101 and maybe bouncing around to some different ones. But these are kind of our go-tos for the under 50 category.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, now if you were showing up to a party, Zach, like if you had to pick 2, what would be the 2 that you'd bring to a party? I'm
taking a Four Roses and probably a Wild Turkey. So these 2 are the 2 that I'm taking.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like maybe the Small Batch and the Four Roses, the Wild Turkey. I mean, it's just so solid, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
But as far as like a wow factor, I think the Small Batch has a little more, and the Four Roses obviously is a single barrel, so I think it has a little more. But man, like I think people sleep on Wild Turkey 101. Like I know I slept on it. I walked past it a million times before I finally tried it.
And part of that is because it's so readily available. I mean, you can walk into any liquor store, and Wild Turkey 101 is going to be there. And the reason for it is because it's so consistent. It's a very good product. They use a really heavy char in their barrels, and it's a 6 to 8 year old aged bourbon. So it's got some decent age on it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to love with 101. But the Small Batch Larceny, the Small Batch 1792, and Elijah Craig are also solid. So
you're just not going to go wrong, guys. But these are our top 5. What are your top 5 if you had to kind of go 50 or under and readily available,
If you want to rank your top 5, throw them in the comments. Let us know. Top 5 under 50. We'd be curious to kind of see what other people's thoughts are on some of this stuff. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate any feedback and any love you guys are willing to send our way. So with that, I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Tater Nation out.